Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for coming. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sergeant Jackie Davis, and I'm the spokeswoman for the Anne Arundel County Police Department. Real quick, before we get started with the facts of the case, I want to introduce the people behind me. We have Mr. Steve Shue, our county executive, Chief Tim Altamari, the chief of the Anne Arundel County Police, Chief Scott Baker with Annapolis Police, Colonel Rick Tabor with the Sheriff's Office, Special Agent in Charge Cardell Morant with HSI, and our state's attorney, Mr. Wes Adams. Excuse me. All right, right now we are going to talk about a case that was executed by our heroin task force. The heroin task force was the idea of our county executive, Steve Shue, to help us combat the opioid problem that we have here in Anne Arundel County. And that task force is housed out of our Narcotics and Special Investigations Division. However, it is comprised of our detectives, as well as Annapolis Police Department detectives and the Sheriff's Office detectives. This was the result of an 8-month investigation, which involved undercover detectives infiltrating this drug trafficking organization. This enabled them to build a case which culminated in 21 arrests, with 4 more outstanding, 15 search warrants, 9 vehicle seizures, 4 gun seizures, and $296,435 in U.S. currency. Along with the items seized were 1.74 kilograms of fentanyl, approximately 1/3 of a kilogram of heroin, almost a 1/2 kilogram of cocaine, 159 grams of bath salts, 26 grams of an item known as U-47-700, which is a scheduled opioid, and it's 7.5 times stronger than morphine. We also seized 8.68 kilograms of xylazine. Xylazine is relatively new for us, something that we weren't too familiar with. However, it is a large animal tranquilizer used for like cows, bears, large mammals. It's not for human consumption. Because it's not for human consumption, it is not a scheduled drug. That being said, it is not on the schedule for an illegal substance. However, in September, our fatal overdose unit received a fatal overdose where the cause of death was ruled fentanyl, xylazine, and morphine intoxication. So it is fatal when it's taken by humans, since it is for large animals. The street value of the drug seized is well over $800,000, and it has the potential to cause tens of thousands of fatal overdoses. So had these drugs hit the streets, we could have lost a lot of lives. So thankfully, we did not. And at this point, I would like to ask our county executive, Steve Shue, to come say a few words.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I want to thank the members of our public safety departments and offices for being here today as we see the tangible results of the historic partnership we've established among the various law enforcement agencies here in Anne Arundel County. And I especially want to acknowledge Chief Tim Altamari of the Anne Arundel County Police Department, State's Attorney Wes Adams, Annapolis Police Chief Scott Baker, and Sheriff Ron Bateman and Colonel Tabor of the Sheriff's Office of Anne Arundel County. Each of them has worked together to save people from drug overdoses, to rehabilitate addicts, and to get these drug dealers off the streets and in jail where they belong. It was 4 years ago that we announced our administration's efforts to establish a partnership in public safety to make our county the safest place in Maryland. That partnership includes the police department, the fire department, the Department of Detention Facilities, the Office of Emergency Management, the Sheriff's Office, the State's Attorney's Office, Parole and Probation, and the City of Annapolis Fire, Police, and Emergency Services. Each of us believed then, as we do now, that partnership and open communication are the best way to protect the public. That is why these agencies and offices meet regularly as part of our public safety core group and share the information needed to make arrests and to put criminals away. The drug seizure we are announcing today demonstrates that our efforts are working to make our community safer, and that enforcement efforts to combat heroin epidemic in our county are making a difference. These efforts, combined with our treatment and education outreach programs, are turning the tide against these horrific drugs. And I have a message to anyone who wants to continue to peddle poison here in our community. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will put you in jail. Over the last 4 years, we've worked hard to make sure our public safety agencies have the tools they need to succeed, including 120 new positions in public safety, aggressive new recruiting programs to fill those positions, and new equipment and infrastructure, including more than 450 new police vehicles, a new central booking facility, and a new police academy. With these tools and the strong partnership represented here today, I believe today is just the beginning of a long, lonely autumn for heroin dealers in Anne Arundel County. Thank you again for being here.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming out. I got to start with a couple thank yous. Thank you to Sheriff Bateman and Colonel Tabor and Chief Baker behind me for taking exactly 2 seconds to decide whether they were going to get into this heroin task force with us 4 years ago. They've been there with us every step of the way. Gentlemen, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time and expense that you guys have sunk into this process. It's worth it. We're saving lives. I'd also like to thank the 2 Baltimore City detectives who worked on this case for the first 4 or 5 months of it before they returned to their parent agency back in Baltimore. They gave a lot of help. We appreciate it. I'd like to thank my boss for being the first politician I've heard in 25 years of my career say, go get the drug dealers and do your best to put them away. It's been a very tough 8 or 10 years to be a cop when the national conversation says that drug dealers aren't so bad. They're bad. There's nothing nonviolent about that table. When the narcotics section brought this case to me and briefed me on it, we knew of 7 overdoses as a direct result of the drugs that this organization peddles. You heard us say earlier that we had a fatal overdose involving xylazine last month. I never heard of xylazine. It's here. It's poison. People are profiting from the slow death of our communities, and it ain't okay. So thank you, boss. And then my biggest thank you is to the 10 or 15 detectives who haven't had a life for the last 8 months. 24/7, 365. They've been working this case, following the trail, surveilling bad guys, putting themselves in harm's way to make the citizens of Anne Arundel County a safer group of people. So I just want to close on my thank yous with this. I have another group I want to talk to. The boss said it. Mr. Shue said it. If you're peddling poison in Anne Arundel County, I don't care who the chief is 2 months from now, Anne Arundel County Police Department and our partners are going to relentlessly pursue you. We are going to do our best to put you away for as long as we can with our partners behind me, the prosecutor's office, the state's attorney's office, and our federal partners to take cases federal to ensure people go away. And we are going to do everything we can to take the things that you profited with in the process. If you're peddling poison, you're not welcome in Anne Arundel County. So let me give you some details on this case. Cost us about $300,000 to run the case. You heard Sergeant Davis say we seized just under $300,000. As this goes forwards into the federal realm, you'll see that money get reinvested in the fight against crime and drugs. You heard her say there's over $800,000 in product sitting there. I really think that that number is low. The xylazine that you see on the table can be used to cut a kilogram of heroin/fentanyl 4 times. Stretch that product 4 times. And because it adds the effect of anesthetizing and putting a person to sleep, people think they're getting good product. The DEA is working very hard to get xylazine scheduled so that next year at this time, hopefully, we'll be able to prosecute the 8.7 kilograms of it that you see on the table. That effort is very worthy. I'd like you to keep an eye on that moving forward, our friends in the media. 8 months of undercover work by 10 to 15 people who lived it all day, every day. It's a pretty remarkable piece of investigation. Our drug lab is still analyzing 1.5 kilos of product. We don't know what it is yet. So we hope to be able to update you on that in the near future. And with that, folks, I'm just going to close with this. Thank you for coming out. I'm extremely proud of the Anne Arundel County Police Department and our partners in the region today. People's lives matter. That's what we exist to protect, and we'll keep doing it to the best of our ability. Thank you. State's Attorney Adams. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to especially thank the county executive, Mr. Hsu, of course, Chief Altamari, Chief Baker, Colonel Tabor, Special Agent Morant, really for their incredible partnership and leadership in this investigation. As you heard Chief just say, this was an investigation that has taken nearly 8 months. My office, my prosecutors have been working hand in hand with the detectives mentioned by the Chief intimately day and night for the last, over the course of that time, to ensure that we could bring this investigation to fruition. Our commitment to attacking this epidemic from every side has made us a leader in the state of Maryland in this kind of investigative activity. On top of that, my commitment as a prosecutor to prosecute those that are hurting people in our community, that are dealing death in our community, in combination with our efforts on rehabilitation and enforcement, are there to help stem the tide and turn the tables on the drug dealers here in this county. We have made it a point over the last 4 years to work proactively with our partners behind me, and I'm proud of the results that we're yielding. Taking these drugs off the street is a great achievement for this county by itself, but we won't stop at that. In addition to the seizure of these assets, our investigation has resulted in the indictment of 16 individuals. Glenn Anthony Davis, the alleged leader of this organization, is currently being held without bond on a 51-count indictment. Conducting a long-term investigation of this nature was once a solitary achievement only 3 years ago. Thanks to the unparalleled commitment of the folks behind me, as well as my prosecutors, my lead prosecutor over here for this investigation, Nicole Norris. We can say to the residents of Anne Arundel County, your police officers, your prosecutors, and all of your county officials are working together day in and day out to keep your community safe and free from the violence and the drugs that are trying to take it over. I'm grateful for everybody for all their commitment, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will be taking questions. Just keep in mind that we do need to protect